Another thing that you want to keep in mind too is every few minutes or so as you're working, you want to keep going along, and you're going to get a little bit of dried up ink, little dead skin cells, and just spurious brains and particles kind of built up in the tips of your needles and your tube tip. That just happens. It will happen every single time you tattoo, no matter what. And it's always good to just kind of just clean it out ever so often and make sure you have a good ink flow coming in there. What I like to do is just rest the tube on there, leaving the tips slightly suspended in the air, push down on the armature bar, and then just gently pinch it and drag it out. Just do it a couple times, very lightly. You never want to push back in because you're going to end up bending the needle tip. So just gently grab it and just pinch it and just drag it off. And that'll just clean any little bits of stuff stuck to the end of the needle, and it'll give you a nice smooth ink flow coming out of there, and it'll stop binding up. Because what'll happen if you don't, eventually you're going to be pulling a line, you're going to stop, it's going to run out of ink right in the middle of the line, and that's just because the passageway is blocked. So always good to keep a nice clean area. Now, as you can see, also what I'm doing here is I'm not necessarily completing each cell structure in each vein as I'm going along. Sometimes, because the most important lines on here are these long veins, not the small little structures connecting them, because those I can always just add in afterwards. They're not terribly important. But the main detail in this focus is these long, drawn-out ones. So it's more important to get those in there. And as I'm going along, you see some of them start to kind of rub off. It's not terribly important. The most important ones are the long ones. So as you can see, what I'm doing as I'm moving along is sometimes I'm doing it, sometimes I'm not. It's whatever works easier for me without rubbing everything off too much. So now that I have pretty much all of these long vertical lines in place and exactly where they need to be, I'm going to go back and go ahead and go back through here and then finish creating all the little cell structures going vertically up and down through here. And by doing that, again, I'm basically just going to start, dark to light. I'm doing like heavier, more consistent lines towards the top of the vein segment, and then just gradually lightening it up, picking the machine up a little bit. So by the time I get to the bottom, you have a nice faded out kind of little ladder effect. And I'm just going to work my way through that, giving myself little variations, some larger, some smaller, and it'll give a more organic kind of feel to it, because nothing in nature like that is absolutely perfect in repetition. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and finish my way through there. And I'll show you what that looks like when I'm done. Then I'm going to move on and mask the other side of the wing to that, and then the next step will be the shading.